still going to that party, and she didn't reply.
Specific time that couldn't really be like, this is when I did this is when I did that.
He had notified me that he had received some threatening messages, essentially claiming that they had kidnapped Emily and they were holding her for ransom.
11 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon, it was lying in my something. I love my wife, and I would never hurt her.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We're going to get you right back to Ohio for today's important testimony in the staged suicide murder trial, plus this shocking story out of Oklahoma.
Ow! What was that? Oh! Maybe I'm hit right here.
A sheriff's deputy is shot with his own assault rifle, and you won't believe how the alleged shooter got their hands on the gun. Plus this.
Okay, he's stepping out of the vehicle. He's talking to the, he's trying to jack a car. He's trying to jack a car.
And a violent carjacking spree on the streets of Las Vegas. And it all ends with a stunning crash you have to see to believe. Then, another twist in the Alec Murdaugh case today. The hits just keep on coming, folks. The state charges they filed new charges against the once prominent South Carolina attorney. But we are going to start in Ohio, of course, for the staged suicide murder trial. Matthew Moore is accused of killing his wife, Emily Noble, and staging it to make it look like a suicide. Her remains were found hanging from a tree months after she disappeared. The state's case is largely circumstantial, and after starting a bit slow, their case is beginning to pick up steam. Well, here are some of the highlights from week one.
You'll hear from Dr. Smock that Emily Noble did not die of an incomplete hanging, that the scene itself was not consistent with the injuries he noted, and that his belief is based on the location, the bilateral fractures, that the cause of death of Emily Noble was a manual strangulation.
Dr. Bolte will come in here and say that actually when he went down there, he as an expert in biomechanics thought there's no way this branch could hold. But he did 2 different tests. He does a dynamic test. And a dynamic test, the evidence will show, is what happens if someone were to hang themselves and let their weight fall. Could it happen? He takes a crash test dummy, the same weight as Emily Noble, ties a USB cord in the same or similar fashion as Emily tied it around her neck on the 25th of May. It's on video. You will see it.
My wife, Emily Noble, has been missing all day. Her birth is here with her ID, her car is here with her car keys, and her phone is here. I don't know what you always identify to call you. It's very, very uncharacteristic for her to do this.
Hey, how you doing? My wife's missing. What's going on? She's uncharacteristically missing. Okay. Her wallet's here. There's a wallet, ID, some money. Phone's here. Car's in the garage.
When did you get the birthday return text from Emily, and was it usual to get emojis as a form of text response from Emily?
The response was around 6:20, 6:27 p.m. on her birthday, May 24th. It wasn't unusual, but she usually gave more information. And I texted her back, and I never got a return text.
Did you ever walk into the woods or only walk the perimeter?
We only walked the perimeter.
Where was the dog deployed as you were standing there?
We actually walked from the residence down the county line, and we walked, and she began her search right in this area.
At any time as you walked with that dog, did the dog go into the woods?
No, the dog went up to the woods, but did not walk into the woods.
So along, it would be fair to describe that as along the tree line.
Yes.
In between the sidewalk and the tree line, but not actually into any of the woods.
That is correct.
How were your interactions with him?
I was uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable. When we tried to take pictures, he would want to force his way into the picture, and he was uncomfortably affectionate physically towards me, and I just met him, so I did not feel comfortable.
Did you have any conversation with him prior to that, or is that the very first time you spoke or saw him?
First time I saw or spoke to him.
I noticed cigarette smoke in the house, which really depressed me.
And why was that, sir?
That's when I started thinking Emily's not coming home.
Why did cigarette smoke make you think that?
Because Emily would not allow anyone to smoke in the house.
Can you tell us, now the jury can see, tell us what it is we're looking at here?
These are some of the messages that Matthew Moore had received in regards to Emily being sick, and they were holding her for ransom unless they received $7,000.
After this screenshot was sent to you, what did you do?
I asked him if he could come in and provide his cell phone so that we could provide essentially a forensic analysis to see what exactly we were looking at this point.
Just know that the times are going to be, might be wrong, and I would hate to give you a wrong time. I mean, it was just like any other night. It wasn't correct. So I'm not like checking my time. Right. And it was a normal night. We drank. We came home. We hung out. I left because I wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. I don't go back into the bedroom because I don't want to wake her up. I sleep in my son's room.
All right, let's go live now to Delaware County, Ohio, where Court TV crime and justice reporter Matt Johnson is outside of that courtroom with our debrief. All right, Matt, good afternoon to you. Lots of new evidence was introduced today. It started out as a great day, I thought, for the state. Didn't so much end that way. What stood out to you?
Well, I think that, in that cross that we were just watching, the defense really just poked a hole in any sort of theory that this could have been money motivated, because right there he had $300,000 in his own bank account from his mom's death. So that was a bombshell at the end of the day as we head into the weekend before the jury returns on Monday. And then I really think that the testimony that they heard about that.
Oh, all right. Yeah, all right. It looks like we have some technical difficulty. We'll get those sorted out, get Matt back online right now. Though, let me go to my guest. With me tonight is Franz Borghardt. Of course, he's a criminal defense attorney and a former prosecutor. Great to see you, Franz. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, as always. And I'm going to go with the same kind of question. I thought the day started out really strong for the state. This witness brought in a lot of information that, if looked at from one point of view, could suggest the oddity of it all. Some of the things that were text back and forth can certainly be interpreted one way, but I thought the cross-examination was really strong and I think really undercut some of what this prosecution was trying to present.
Well, good evening, Michael. I have to agree with you. The state does not have to prove motive, but juries always want to know, why kill someone? And it makes sense, right? There's a financial incentive. He killed her because of the money. Well, she destroyed that on cross-examination. Here's an individual that was cash-strapped, if you will, Michael. And so now the jury has to be scratching its head and saying, well, wait a minute. If you didn't kill her for money, what reason would it be? And look, just because someone has a turbulent relationship doesn't mean you kill the partner, right? We see divorce happen all the time. So by stripping away motive, all of a sudden it makes the circumstantial evidence case weaker for the state. And that's good old-fashioned effective defense work, if you ask me.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting, as we've talked about many times with circumstantial cases, they're kind of like Jenga, right? You got to kind of build them up, but then you start as a defense attorney pulling little parts out, and if you pull enough important parts out, the whole thing falls down. Today was a good day for the defense. It looks like we've got Matt Johnson back online. Franz, you stand by for a second. I want to go back out to Matt. Matt, do we have you? There you are. There's that handsome face.
Michael.
All right, go ahead, continue on.
Yeah, well, great to see you. And, you know, what we were talking about was the fact that this jury heard from the defendant himself just the hours, the days leading up after her disappearance. And he kept on saying time and time again in this video that they heard today, he was talking in the past tense about his wife. That's what stood out. Take a listen.
This is a voluntary interview. I want to help you. I want to get this going because I didn't do it, and I want you to find whatever the hell happened to her. Me too. I want it to happen.
And, you know, it was something that was really sticking out to this jury who stopped writing notes. They were taking notes halfway through. They looked up, and then they just paid attention to the screen, and then they were looking at the defendant at his table. He was making a lot of conversation with his defense attorneys during all of this. They were pointing things out. I thought that was interesting because it almost appeared like to the folks in the gallery that it was the first time that they were watching it, which clearly we know that that's not true. And everyone in the gallery kind of took a deep breath and was looking at the defendant as well when he kept on talking about his wife in the past tense, including this statement.
After the defendant was talking about Corona, what did he say about Emily?
He told us that he loved his wife and said it in the past tense.
So not love, but loved.
Loved.
I loved my wife.
Would it surprise you if I said that she didn't seem to be as happy as you were led to believe?
Of course.
It would surprise you?
It wouldn't surprise me.
It wouldn't surprise you?
She was sadder than I thought she was.
As far as your relationship?
No, she loved me.
Was the defendant just there talking about Emily's feelings towards him?
Yes, he was.
And what did he say?
He said, no, she loved me. Again, past tense.
Loved, not love.
Correct.
And loved me, that statement, I overheard a lot of people that were in the gallery today talking about that during one of the breaks after that testimony was revealed in court today. As for the jury, again, they were glued to this testimony, glued to that video that we were watching, that interrogation video. There was one juror that I was watching today. She grabbed her notebook. She held it up almost like she was clutching a pillow when you're watching a scary movie on a couch, and then she started shaking her head.
All right, sounds like maybe it had some kind of impact on this jury. Now, Matt, overall, what was the atmosphere like in court today?
Well, we're seeing what we don't normally see because a lot of times when someone testifies in these trials, they are called to be subject for recall. That's not happening here as far as I know because we see a lot of people testify and then they're in the gallery, including several people like the sister, and then there was Celeste Groen. She's right there in the middle. Then there was Brandy Zink. She's a friend of Emily. She's right there on your screen along with one of the detectives, Mr. Alloway. So they're in the gallery sitting next to Emily's friends. I thought that was interesting. And then I'm always looking at the defense table, Matthew Moore. Look at, he has something in his mouth right there. Just much like Johnny Depp, he has to eat candy or Altoids. There's a bunch of Altoids in front of him each and every day. And then, Michael, I thought that this was really interesting / gross. I noticed that today he takes his shoes off during the testimony, and the deputies have to actually wait for him to put his shoes back on and tie his shoes and ask if he's ready before he leaves the courtroom.
All right, everyone has their little idiosyncrasies, Matt, okay? So, you know, it's just the way it is, and that's how it plays out in that courtroom. And again, the jury's watching. They're watching it all. All right, Matt Johnson, thank you so much for that report. Appreciate it. As always, let me quickly go back to Franz Borghardt. Again, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor. Franz, this whole issue of speaking in the past tense, wasn't sure what to make of it. Initially, upon first hearing it, it does sort of jump out at you a little bit. He does seem a little bit too eager to suggest that maybe she's gone for good. Well, before anyone's even really accused him, and before anyone would want to think that she was gone for good. So, I don't know, what do you make of that? Is that something that is an important moment for this jury, you think?
So I think it is important, and I'm basing that based on what Matt told us, that the jury was perking up, they were listening, they were paying attention. But on the other hand, Michael, this is a weird defendant, right? And just because you're weird doesn't make you a murderer. A lot of murderers are weird, but this is a weird guy. And look, the defense can explain away the use of past tense. He always in every recording I've seen of him, he looks spacey. He looks kind of half there, half not there. I don't think it's necessarily a nail in the coffin, so to speak, that he's using the past tense if the defense can explain it. And so far, they've done a great job explaining some of the critical theories of the state's case. So if they keep doing that, if they keep prosecuting a defense, Michael, I think they may be able to get to the finish line and show reasonable doubt.
I agree, and I think he's just quirky. You know, that's the word I have for him. He's a guy, all the complaints about him from the friends, it all just seemed like quirky stuff that may not make you comfortable, but it's just the way the guy is, and you just got to learn to live with it or not. It's the way it turns out. All right, Franz, stand by. We're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, more from the defendant's interrogation. And then later, in our Talkback segment, actor Alec Baldwin has spoken out multiple times since the on-set Rust movie shooting. He claims he never pulled the trigger of the gun, but a recent report says the gun wouldn't have fired if he didn't. So we asked you, do you think it's wise for the actor to continue speaking about the incident? Let us know what you think, and we'll share some of your comments later on in the show. Keep it right here on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny charged with the murder of her boyfriend. We'll hear from a former neighbor about what he saw living next to the couple.
Closing Arguments tonight at 8/7 Central, only on Court TV.
It was a feud between families.
Came in like thieves in the night and took 8 lives.
George Wagner faces murder charges in connection with the killing.
It's a chilling story. The Ohio family massacre trial.
Live coverage coming soon on Court TV.
No personal loan.
We are continuing our coverage of the murder trial of Matthew Moore. Now, Moore is accused of killing his wife, Emily Noble, and then staging her body to make it look like she died by suicide. Well, today, the state called Westerville police detective Stephen Grubbs to the stand. Now, he would prove to be a very important witness for the state. He played for the jury a videotaped interview that he did with the defendant. And he also showed the jury a series of text messages between Moore and his wife, showing there may have been some serious trouble in the couple's relationship leading up to her disappearance. And it is our testimony of the day.
Matt picked the fight against April. This is barely a month.
You would accuse me of picking fights.
Okay, but this was a month ago. Okay, this is heavy. Matt picked a fight with me yesterday and said some awful things. I'm not wearing my wedding ring. And that doesn't sound like somebody who's in a happy relationship. I found my wife texted that to somebody a month ago.
I get it. I'm not going to say that those things, of course, there was a roller coaster relationship, but it wasn't like anything that was anything you would think that someone would hurt someone. It just would.
I'm just addressing the fact that you just told me the last 6 months have been bliss and it ain't.
Yes.
Okay.
There have been levels of that. Okay. And you can check the other texts, and they are super, I love you, I'm going to see.
I saw that. It's very much up and down.
That would go away. That would really go away. It would last for a night.
Will you acknowledge that that's some pretty heavy when your wife said took up my wedding ring? I don't think we're going to stay together.
It's not as heavy as you think it is.
You don't think that?
You might think it is, but it's not. She would be like that at times because of her anger issues. It always swung back. We were always, it wasn't.
Well, why would you have said that whenever they asked how your relationship means?
I didn't even remember that because it's not in my mindset. The good times have been so good.
Okay, but you know.
You guys are really going to try to.
I'm not trying to do anything. I'm reading your wife's words. I understand that. Just let me. I'm not saying anything. I'm saying when you come in and say we had a great relationship, told Officer Hollis, we had a great marriage, no problems whatsoever, and then I read this, it's going back 6 months. And you text her on New Year's Eve and say, if you want a divorce and we're going to move out, fine. I mean, these are all things I just printed off, which have they aren't the usual fight, like, I'm pissed at you, I don't want to talk to you tonight, just leave me alone. It's go golfing because I don't want to see you right now, I want to be alone. That's, you know, you admit that's pretty,
It's not as heavy as you think it is. From out looking at it from the outside, I can see why someone would think that. But it's not. It's just the level of anger from, I'm not going to say it's her fault, I had my issues with my son. I would get angry too. We would fall back in love the next day. It was just the thing that we would do. And it wasn't, and when you said, hey, how was the last 6 months? The last 6 months have been really nice, man. I mean, was there a time we had a night where I said some bad things and she took her wedding ring off? How long ago was that? I mean, a month ago. It happened, but I mean, I'm not gonna, I don't know how to explain to you.
Do you remember that happening though?
I remember her, I think, taking her wedding ring off, but didn't last. But this thing has gone on forever.
When was the last argument you and her got into, screaming match?
There was never really a screaming match. It was more of just.
When was the last argument / loud conversation?
I couldn't remember. I couldn't tell you. I was guessing.
Because your neighbors are out there saying it was in the last 2 weeks. Would that be correct?
I don't know. And there's screaming. We were screaming at each other. They were saying that we were screaming at each other. Yes. That they could hear. I don't know. We weren't. There might have been a loud, whatever.
Loud disagreement?
We weren't violent. We weren't screaming like at each other, like throwing things around. It just wasn't happening. It's not the type of relationship we had. We would get mad at each other because we had issues, but they weren't even close to being like. She was saying that to her friend. I mean, that's surprising to me because I wasn't like, I mean, at times you say, hey, I don't want to be married to you anymore. But it doesn't go down the lines that I'm sitting in a police station right now being like, you're going after me.
We just have to make sure we know that you were.
Trust me, as a man to man, that what was going on there was nothing there was nothing to be worried about.
All right, still with me, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt. And Franz, police are doing what they do. They want to interview a number of times, try to get some inconsistencies. I think what they're trying to get across here is that perhaps he's saying or telling them that we had a fine relationship, everything was great. These text messages show some acrimony between the couple. But again, it's one of those things where, I think just about every couple, or there's plenty of couples out there where one person in the relationship thinks everything's great, everything's fine. The other one's thinking, man, this is not going so well. I might have to look for ways to get out of this thing. So I'm not sure just how much weight the jury is going to give that particular aspect of this part of the state's case.
Well, a couple things. Remember, in a good interrogation, as much as the detectives are trying to get information from the accused, from the interviewee, they're also kind of testifying, Michael, because they know at some point a jury may see what they're saying. So they're planting little seeds both with the person they're interviewing and with the jury. Now, just as to what you said, show me any couple that doesn't have a few bumps in the road, okay? And I'll say it doesn't exist. Every relationship is imperfect by its very nature. And the fact that they had issues, that doesn't mean a lot to me. And certainly there's nothing in the text messages that I've heard yet that would go from maybe a disagreement, maybe problems in the relationship to he murdered her. Because at the end of the day, remember, I think we have a national divorce rate of about 50%. People divorce each other. They don't decide to kill their partner. It's just, to me, there's not enough of a motive yet in my mind. Even though I know they don't have to prove motive, there's not enough to me to connect the dots to this guy was the one that did it.
In their opening statement, the state, Franz, made a promise to this jury that they would show them text messages and show lots of contradictions in some of the things that he said and things that happened, et cetera, et cetera. They did a lot of that today. I'm not sure they delivered on their promise, and we've talked about this many times. When you make promises and you say you're going to show the jury something that's going to be significant, and it turns out not to be so significant, and the defense on cross is able to undercut a lot of it, I think that presents a problem.
So at the end of the day, the most important job of the state, of a prosecutor, is to maintain their credibility. I'm going to tell you something, jury, and when I tell you, I'm going to prove. The facts are going to prove it. And when they overstate, when they overreach, Michael, then they lose their credibility. And that loss of credibility, it may not be a lie, but it's certainly an exaggeration. And the old saying is, lie a little, lie a big. And if the jury can't trust the state, that is the foundation to reasonable doubt. And that's all it takes to acquit this individual.
Absolutely. And, you know, I was, from that opening statement, I was sitting around waiting. I said, you know, I'm waiting for those text messages. You know, they talked about them in openings. There's going to be something there to sink your teeth into. And I'm not sure that really happened.